Hey there, I'm Aci, and today I'll tell you the story of Yozu. Thanks to Conan Exiles sponsoring this video. And make sure to stick around until the end for a giveaway. Accused of crimes he may or may not have committed, Yozu was sentenced to die on a cross in the desert. Just in time, he was rescued by a mysterious stranger, but then fell unconscious during a sandstorm. When he awoke, all he saw was sand and a beaten path. Magic was nothing new to him, but he had never interacted with it directly. But he knew well enough to obey the ghostly voice, telling him to follow the path that would lead him to the city.
Follow the road. Any road. All roads lead to the city.
Maybe there he would find some other people. After a long and excruciating walk through the desert, he came across a figure in the distance. But when he got closer, he saw it was no man, but a beast. It let out an ear-piercing screech and then flew off, revealing a corpse it had been feeding on. He had to get out of this desert as soon as possible if he didn't want to end up like that poor soul. Finally, he found an oasis, trees, water, and hopefully safety. And maybe even new friends. However, he had to quickly learn that things here did not like him. He even encountered some other humans, hoping to make friends. But they attacked him without hesitation. And even though he was only armed with a makeshift weapon of sticks and some stone, he managed to survive, slaying his enemies. Yozu hated killing, but they gave him no other choice. All he wanted was some friends. After a few days, he quickly learned that friendship didn't exist in the exiled lands. He started building a shelter to be safe from the environment, creatures, and enemies, and over time managed to expand it, along with improving his weapons and armor. The months he spent completely alone, barely surviving, took their toll on his mental health. He started to lose track of right and wrong, and the concept of humanity. Eventually, he decided to find some people to be his friends, whether they wanted to or not. At dawn, he approached a campsite to complete his plan. He was going to beat them until they were unconscious, drag them to his base, and beat them into submission. And, surprisingly, his plan worked. Soon he had a slave, willing to do anything to avoid punishment. But he didn't have a friend. His slave was scared of him, only a feeble loyalty, easily broken by anyone offering a better chance at survival or living conditions. So Yozu ventured deeper into the exiled lands in hopes of finding friends elsewhere, when he found himself drawn to a cave in the mountains. It was guarded by undead monstrosities, attacking him at first sight. But they quickly fell to his strength and his axe. This feeling of power, it was everywhere. And the deeper he ventured into the cave, the stronger it got. And the more he was unknowingly corrupted. Eventually, he came upon a dark shrine, magic emanating from it. We'll never know what he did in that cave, but this is where it started to go wrong. He emerged with a staff and powers beyond anything he had known before. At first, seemingly innocent spells, but this was only the beginning. Traveling around the exiled lands, besting one threat after another, he finally came across a beast in a large dungeon. After a long and exhausting fight, he managed to slay the beast, and in its lair, retrieved the thing he had been searching for all this time. The Book of the Damned. He spent more and more time with it, alone, researching, casting spells, and improving his magic. It seemed to demand offerings, simple things at first, like meat and stone, but growing darker and hungrier every day. He then started experiments with souls, trapping them simply to illuminate his path, with the book commanding him to do more and more gruesome things every day. He eventually lost the last bit of his humanity. Driven by loneliness and the corruption of the cave and the book, he went too far, burying a man alive in hopes of resurrecting him as his friend. Yozu did resurrect him, but what came back was no longer human. He didn't care. After years of being alone, this was the closest he had ever gotten to a true friend. Soon, his strength was unmatched by any of his foes, magically enhancing his body with dark spells, corrupting his physical form further and further. These spells required human sacrifice, but he was far beyond caring about a single human life. But it wasn't only others that his magic affected. He himself started to change, the corruption of his soul becoming more and more apparent each day. Soon, his one friend was no longer enough. Using all his power, he called out to the dead, and they answered. He finally had friends. But a spell this powerful has its price. I know this is very different from my usual content, but I really hope you like the story. Conan Exiles is a really cool open world survival game that I've actually played since the first day it released in early access. So, of course, I was super excited when they approached me about a sponsorship. It's both single player and multiplayer, so you can play it alone or with your friends. You saw some stuff you can do in this game from the story, but I'm just going to tell you about some more stuff because I actually really love this game. I have over 400 hours in it. It's great. A few things that set this game apart for me personally are the religion system, which allows you to summon powerful avatars to crush your enemies, and the thrall system, where you, well, basically beat people into submission. But, for example, this thrall from earlier is now done converting, and I can go over here and place him down to guard my base. I can even give him my weapon to make him stronger, or change his armor. We should probably put that back. There are also dungeons for you to complete, which is where the monster you saw earlier was from. Some of them are puzzles, others you just need to fight through and complete, of course, the bosses at the end. Oh, right, the building system. It's probably the best building system of any game I know. It was always good, but they just made massive improvements to it. They also have mod support, so there's no shortage of anything you could wish for. Every time I play, I kind of have a story in the back of my mind for my character, so I thought this time I would just tell you the story. My story mainly took place in the first area of the map you encounter, the Oasis, but there are a lot of different vibes in the exiled lands. For example, there's an ice biome, a jungle, a volcano, and yes, even an underwater area. They just recently released their biggest update ever, Age of Sorcery, in which, you guessed it, they added sorcery! Now, magic was always in the game with ghosts and magic amulets, but I think sorcery was something that was always missing from the game, so I'm super hyped they finally added it. And with the update, they also completely overhauled the character leveling system, which you saw earlier, which makes it more dynamic and interesting because you can corrupt your stats and character in exchange for powerful perks. And you can also get unique cosmetics with the new battle pass system just for playing the game. I set most of this up in the new creative mode, which made it super easy for me, but you of course usually want to play in the normal survival mode. That has PvP and PvE, but I'm usually too much of a pussy to play PvP. So if Conan Exiles sounds like it's fun to you, you can download it with the first link in the description down below. Or join my Discord server because I decided to give away a copy. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!